This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the Town of North Haven.
Good evening and welcome to the March 26, 2024 meeting of the North Haven Board of Police Commissioners. My name is Larry Lazaroff. I'm the chairman of the commission. To my left is Vice Chairman Bob Hannon. Commissioner or Secretary Mark Calafiore is not here today. He's absent. We have Commissioner Mead and Commissioner Wilson here. Tonight's meeting begins with a very special ceremony. We're swearing in a new patrolman, Timothy Castelli, a North Haven resident. We're very, very pleased to have him. It's always a pleasure to install and swear in a new police officer in town. We want to tell your family we have your back. I know you're a seasoned officer already, but we have your back, and you can see by the showing here, both Cheshire and North Haven, these guys and women all have your back. So you'll do a great job here. We're happy to have you here, and your main goal is obviously to remain safe and come home after each shift safely. So, God willing. With that, I'll ask you to step up forward to take the oath. And you'll stand over here, and I'll stand over here, and we'll raise our right hands, and you repeat after me. I solemnly swear that
I solemnly swear that
I will bear true faith and allegiance to
I will bear true faith and allegiance to
the United States of America
the United States of America
and the state of Connecticut,
and the state of Connecticut,
and will support the Constitution thereof.
and will support the Constitution thereof.
I will faithfully and impartially
I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
all duties incumbent upon me
all duties incumbent upon me
as a police officer of the town of North Haven.
as a police officer of the town of North Haven.
I agree to obey and be bound
I agree to obey and be bound
by such rules and regulations
by such rules and regulations
as are or may be made
as are or may be made
from time to time established by the Board of Police Commissioners.
established by the Board of Police Commissioners.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, who will be pinning you?
My father.
Mr. Castelli? Yeah, you got it. Yeah. Congratulations. At this time, we're going to take a brief recess for some pictures, et cetera, and we'll come back into the session shortly. Okay, we are back now after taking some photos. We had a nice little ceremony for Tim Castelli. We wish him the best. I'm looking for a motion of the approval of minutes of the February 27th, 2024 meeting, both regular and executive session, please.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Having spoken with the secretary who's not here this evening, I know there are no correspondences. Is that correct, Peg?
Correct.
Okay. As far as my report, there's really nothing for me to add here tonight except the basics. Lock, please, your sheds, your cars, your homes, and just be aware that now we're entering spring and nicer weather, so you see a lot more children at play, a lot more bikes and walkers, so please just be a little bit more attentive as you're driving on the roads. We hate to see any accidents. With that, I'll turn it over to the chief.
Thank you. I'll be fairly brief tonight until we get to the executive session. I'll start with the budget as I usually do. At the end of February, we were at 63.6% expended, which is on track for our self-imposed limits. Payroll period to payroll period, month to month, so we're in good shape there. However, as you look at the reports, the overtime continues to be high, not only this year, but last year as well. The biggest driver for both fiscal years has been overtime for our dispatch center. However, our 8th dispatcher is now in training, and our 7th and 8th dispatcher are doing well. They're on track to finish training, which will help out with overtime for filling those shifts. So we're feeling good about that. We continue the special details and the overnight hours that we talked about in the past with the stolen vehicles, the car break-ins, the robberies and burglaries. We've committed not only grant funding, but also our own budgetary overtime to staff extra officers in the overnight shifts. I'll get into a few more details as far as some successes that we've had in the last couple of weeks with those officers working those overtime details. But it does cost us some money out of our budget to do that. Also, you'll note the training line is also high, but as we get into the training report, you'll see some very important training that we've done, especially last month. I'll touch on that in a little more detail, and it's not something that we're going to pull back on and absorb into our overall budget. The town budget hearing is scheduled for April 9th at 7 o'clock at the high school. Support from the commission, as you usually do, would be appreciated. As you know, there will be people there to speak against the overall budget. I would anticipate some people will show up to speak in public comment in regards to not supporting more police officers, not supporting our budget in general. So anybody who could speak, who is willing to speak, would be appreciated that night. And then the annual town budget meeting is scheduled for May 13th. And what's presented on that night will be going to referendum on May 21st. So as always, we encourage everyone viewing this, everyone who's here tonight to go to the referendum and vote, let your voice be heard as far as whether you support the budget as drafted or not. Does anybody have any questions as far as the budget report that you received in your packets?
Yeah.
Under traffic, it's a brief report this evening. Both recaps from last month. A letter was sent to DOT for consideration for approval for the electronic speed signs posted on the main roads, the state roads in town. We haven't heard back from them, so we're still waiting to get a response. And a letter was sent to DOT to reevaluate the priorities for the traffic lights, the state-owned traffic lights in town. Sergeant D. Pascal noted some of the responses from DOT have been slower than what we expect on some main intersections in town on state roads. When a light goes on flash or goes out completely, you have to contact the state, and they have a tier system in terms of how quickly they respond. So we're going to we have requested for them to reevaluate as far as how long it takes them to respond to those lights. So we're going to hear back from them regarding that letter. Under training and professional standards, again, if you refer to your package, you'll see a substantial amount of training that took place. One, to note, we conducted a department-wide active threat and active shooter training. This is labor intensive. A lot of the officers who are assigned to the SWAT team are the main trainers for this. It's an 8-hour shift, and they conduct it over 4 or 5 days. So it's a lot of hard work, but it's very important training, and we accomplished that in the last month. Still under professional standards, we had 2 officers who were disciplined recently. These were 2 separate incidents. After an internal investigation for both incidents, they were issued discipline, and both officers have filed grievances. So we have dates set to respond to Weathersfield for a labor hearing, and I'll go into detail in the executive session on those. And we have 1 ongoing open internal investigation that has not been presented to Deputy Chief and myself for evaluation, and we can talk about that in an executive session. Under personnel updates, we have 3 officers, as you all know, who graduated from the Police Academy. They are now in the final stages of field training. We expect all three are doing great. They're great hires. They fit in well. We expect that they will be on their own in patrol by mid-April, so just a couple weeks. Officer Schwab, who is sworn in, he was a certified officer from the city of New Haven. He did a brief 3-week field training. He has been on his own for a while. He's doing excellent, fits in well, and he's been successful. Also, Torres is still in the police academy. She started January 5th. We expect that graduation July 15th. And after field training, if successful, she'll be on her own in October. We have 1 officer who retired due to an injury, on-the-job injury recently. Tim, who was sworn in this evening, certified officer from Cheshire. He is filling that position. He starts field training tomorrow, and we anticipate that he will be on his own after successful completion of field training by May 1st. We still have 1 officer out on long-term injury after having a surgery to his knee. We expect him to be back by April, sometime in April. one officer on light duty now. So technically down 7 positions, but in just a few months, 5 out of the 7 should be back. So we'll be in good shape, I feel. Under Uniform Services Division, February was a busy month, and I know I say the same thing every month for at least the past 2 years. Calls for service, so this is every incident that we send 1 police officer to, or 3 or 4 or 5 officers to. It counts as 1 call for service. For February, we responded to 2,131 calls for service compared to 1,900 from February the previous year. Year to date, we're over 4,400 compared to 4,200 from last year. Last year was a very busy year. Motor vehicle stops are up. Just in February of this year, we've had 212 motor vehicle stops compared to 172 last year and 150 in 2022. Total arrests are up. We made 40 arrests compared to 35 in February last year and 17 the year before. Vehicle thefts, unfortunately, still trend higher, but just slightly higher. Year to date, we've had 11 stolen cars through the end of February, 8 the previous year. Vehicle burglaries, 27 this year compared to 24 last year, and all larcenies. So aside from stolen cars and vehicle burglaries, there's shopliftings and other random larcenies in different categories. We're still trending slightly high with 76 year to date at the end of February compared to 51 the previous year. So again, we continue to increase staffing on the overnight hours, especially as the weather gets warmer. We're going to use some grant funding as well as town overtime funding to staff our bicycle unit, which is brand new, in shopping districts to try to drive down those shopliftings and other larcenies. We continue to participate in the Violent Crime Task Force, which has helped, especially in the last couple months with a few robberies that occurred in town. And as you know, we requested 2 additional police officers. We requested 4. That request was knocked down to 2, which is currently in the budget. So we hope with the combination of all these efforts that we're able to not only deter crime, solve more crime, and really drive down the crime overall. Under the Investigative Services Division, please refer to your packets for details. There are some sensitive investigations that are reported to you, so we're not going to go over all of them, but they continue to be very busy. They're doing great work. We have 1 detective that has been back from injury, who has assisted in the staffing there, allow us to catch up on some investigations. They're currently following up on 7 stolen vehicles from January, as well as 4 more stolen vehicles from February. 6 commercial burglaries that occurred in February, 2 robberies that occurred in February. And in January, there's 1 sexual assault report, and in February, unfortunately, an additional 4 sexual assaults that they took on as far as investigations. In the past month, we had an armed robbery with an unlawful discharge of a firearm on Washington Avenue. There was 1 driver that remained in the vehicle in the parking lot. 4 suspects entered the gas station, all with masks. 1 individual with a handgun was approached by an employee. 1 shot was fired. Thank God did not strike the employee, and that person was taken into custody. That was a 16-year-old juvenile from Hartford, and our detectives are working with the Violent Crime Task Force to try to identify the 4 suspects at this time. While on those crime suppression overtime details that I talked about earlier, we had officers just 2 weeks ago locate a stolen vehicle that was occupied. They were able to recover that stolen vehicle and make an arrest. The stolen vehicle was out of Waterbury, and the arrestee was from Middletown. So a lot of people think that it's either North Haven people committing crime or people from New Haven coming into North Haven to commit crime, but it's not. Connecticut's a very small state. And so just the past couple of weeks, I think it demonstrates that robbery suspects with firearms from the Hartford area, stolen vehicle suspects who live in Middletown, stealing cars from Waterbury, as well as all the New Haven crossing over that occurs. On March 4th, we had 3 burglaries on 1 shift, 1 midnight shift. 3 burglaries occurred, 1 on State Street, 2 in Universal Drive. On March 24th, we had a burglary on State Street. Those same suspects that same night committed burglaries, multiple ones in Hamden, West Haven, and Orange. Again, kind of shows how small the area is, how small the state is, and how the collaboration with other, not only local, but state and federal partners is very important to solve these crimes. So we're staying busy, not only with crime, but calls for service. We're going to continue with the grant funding overtime. Like I said, bike units in our shopping districts and just overall increase in presence. We have officers coming off training, coming back from injuries, and in addition to that, the additional officers that we requested. So I think we're in a good place moving forward. We appreciate your support, not only with the budgetary process, but just in general. Moving on to the Canary Scholarship, we have no requests for this evening, and everything else I have is for executive session.
So the cars that are stolen, are they unlocked, locked? I'm just curious. Or is it?
It's a combination. So the past few years, most have been unlocked with keys in the vehicle. Probably the past year or so, we've seen more with smashed windows, breaking into the cars. We've seen a combination of some cars being stolen from business districts. We've seen cars stolen where the stolen car is unlocked, but they would smash the window to another car in the driveway.
Yeah.
There was keys in that car for the other car. We've seen burglaries to garages
Right.
where they're stealing cars. So it's becoming more
It's more diverse.
inconsistent.
Yeah. Okay, great. Any other questions? Good. Okay. Entertaining a motion to adjourn for executive session for personnel matters.
Make a motion that we adjourn to go into executive session.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are back now in open session after having had a meeting in executive session for personnel matters. I'm looking for a motion to move next month's meeting from April 23rd, moving it to the following week to April 30th. I make a motion, is it all right?
Make a motion to move next month's meeting from April 23rd to April 30th.
Okay, and a second? Second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Any further business? Okay, motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Happy Easter.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.